अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्रभ्यां जगन्नाथाय नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, welcome back. So today we will be continuing 17th chapter. This is our session 101. So in this chapter, Bhagavan is discussing about 3 types of Shraddha based on Swabhava. And to explain this, he talks that Arjuna, we usually in our daily life do certain activities, perform certain activities. And they are also based on our Swabhava. So if we observe them, we will understand what kind of Shraddha that person is having. So Bhagavan is discussing about the eating habit, the type of sacrifices that a person performs, the types of austerities and of charities. So in our previous class, we discussed about food, 3 types of food and 3 types of sacrifices. So there we concluded that the food that nourishes the body, that in turn increases the duration of life, purifies the mind, and aids bodily strength, Such food is sattvika. And we must stick to those food only, those foodstuffs on. And what kind of foods to be avoided, that also Bhagavan described in these 3 verses, 8, 9, and 10. That is too much bitter, too savory, too salty, too hot, too pungent. And the food that is prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, which are tasteless, decomposed. Such type of foodstuffs to be avoided, because they are Rajasika and Tamasika. So, and we also discussed that the devotees offer the food to the Lord to purify them. And of course, only Sattvika food can be offered to the Lord. And when it is offered, it becomes Shuddha Sattvika. So then the devotees accept or honor the prasadam. So, and then we also talked about, Lord talked about, and we discussed, we read that 3 kinds of sacrifices, that is Sattvika and Rajasika and Tamasika. So there also we understood that the sacrifices which are performed according to the scriptural injunctions as a matter of duty, without any expectation of the fruits of such sacrifices, they are called as Sattvika sacrifice. And that is yajna. And then also we understood that all the sacrifice, all the actions to be done in the mood of sacrifice and for the satisfaction of the Lord, and the satisfaction or the benefit of the entire society. So that is Sattvika sacrifice. Now today we will discuss about the 3 types of austerities, that is tapaha, and 3 types of charity, that is dana. So we will start from verse number 14 today. From verse number 14, 15, 16, they talk about the 3 types of austerity. Here we have to understand that austerities, okay, let me share it. Austerities, if it is Sattvika also, then they can be, can you see? Yes. So they can be categorized as austerity of body, austerity of speech, and austerity of the mind. That is kaya, vaka, and manasa. So everything to be austere. And then in verse number 17, he will discuss about the austerity in goodness on the whole. And then in the following 2 verses, the austerity in passion and in ignorance. So from 14 to 19, we will discuss about austerity, that is tapaha. Okay, so Devadvija Guru Prajna Pujanam Shauchamarjavam Brahmacharya Mahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. So this is the austerity of body the Lord talks about. So let us read the synonyms. Deva, of the Supreme Lord; Dvija, the Brahmanas; Guru, the spiritual master; Prajna, the worshipable personalities; Pujanam, worship; Shaucham, cleanliness; Arjavam, simplicity; Brahmacharyam, celibacy; ahimsa, non-violence, cha, also, shariram, pertaining to the body, tapaha, austerity, uchyate is said to be. Translation. Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So here Bhagavan defines the austerity of the body. So it is clear from the shloka and the translation. That is, the austerity of body consists of worship of the Supreme Lord, that is Bhagavan, Dvija, that is Brahmanas, the spiritual master, that is Guru, and Prajna, that is the superiors, like our parents and other Guru-like figures. And also Shaucham, that is cleanliness, simplicity, Arjavam, celibacy, brahmacharyam, and non-violence, that is ahimsa. So these are all under the heading of austerity of body. So the next verse talks about the austerity of speech. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. Synonyms. Anudvegakaram, not agitating. Vakyam, words. Satyam, truthful. Priya, dear. Hitam, beneficial. Cha, also. Yat, which. Swadhyaya, of Vedic study. Abhyasanam, practice. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Vakmayam, of the voice. Tapaha, austerity. Uchyate is said to be. Translation. Austerity of speech consists of speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. So what is austerity of speech? Bhagavan says clearly that we must utter those words through this instrument, voice. Only those words that is truthful, satyam, pleasing, priya, beneficial, hitam, beneficial to both the speaker as well as to the listener. Truthful, universally truthful. Pleasing, universally pleasing. And not agitating to others. It should not agitate the listeners or others around us. So it is mentioned, I will read it. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students, if he will agitate their minds. So we should be very careful to whom we are talking to. So if we are having the right to give instruction to my students, that does not mean that I can give instruction to anybody and everybody. So here it is mentioned, this is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. So we must utter the words which are in alignment with the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. So as a proof, we must give the reference from the scriptures. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasing to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive highest benefit and elevate human society. Benefit for himself, and he can also benefit the society by elevating them through these works. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech, because it is said that swadhyaya abhyasanam cha eva vangmaya tapa uchyate. So such a swadhyaya, that is studying the Vedic scriptures, that is also a kind of austerity of speech. Because when we read, we actually use our speech in a very subtle way. Right? If we do not read loudly also, if we read loudly, then obviously it is this instrument is being used. If not, then also within us, we are actually, so the subtle instrument within that is responsible for the outer manifestation of speech is being used. And then in the next verse we see what one says about the austerity of mind. Manah prasada saumatyam, manah prasada saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samshuddhirityetat tapo manasamuchyate. Manah prasadaha saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhihi iti etat tapo manasam uchyate. Synonyms. Manaha prasadaha, satisfaction of the mind. Saumyatvam, being without duplicity towards others. Maunam, gravity. Atma, of the self. Vinigraha, control. Bhava, of one's nature. Samshuddhihi, purification. Iti, thus. Etat, this. Tapaha, austerity. Manasam, of the mind. Uchyate is said to be. Translation. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. So, manaha prasada, that is satisfaction. Satisfaction within, in the mind. That is the austerity of mind. Simplicity, that is saumyatvam, that is without the intention of duplicity. That is simplicity. The intention is in the mind. The behavior is in the level of the body, but the intention or the source is in the mind. Then maunam, that is gravity. Atma vinigraha, that is self-control. Bhava samshuddhi, purification of existence. So I will read from the purport. To make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. So if we cannot control our desire to gratify our senses, then it is not possible. So true austerity is lying in the detachment from sense gratification. So it should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. That is parartha. The best training of the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. So that is the real gravity. Maunam, real maunam, that is always Krishna smaranam. Consciousness should be always in Krishna. So it should be focused on Krishna, on God. So to purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. If we are always doing smaranam of Krishna, then automatically our existence will be purified. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. So if we, as it is said in the first line, detachment from the thoughts of sense enjoyment even, because it all happens at the level of mind. We know that everything first at the level of mind and then at the level of speech or body. So in the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification. And so there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. It is very difficult for us, for our mind to get satisfaction, because every moment the mind is being provoked by some kinds of, vision, it may be, or maybe through different senses, we are actually taking in all the garbage like thoughts. So it is creating deep impact in our mind. So removing the thought of sense gratification is very, very difficult for the mind. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and in the Mahabharata. So instead of watching movies and reading the storybooks, we must change our habit and start reading different scriptures like Puranas, Bhagavad Purana and other Puranas and Mahabharata, etc. So one can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. Because when we study these scriptures, it elevates us. These scriptures have the potential to elevate us because through the words written in the scriptures, they are all purifying. Like when we study Śrimad Bhagavatam, from every episode, we are learning something. There are learning that we can apply in our daily life. So, and life becomes more purified. Our thought becomes purified. Our speech becomes purified. So as the activities. So the entire purification is done if we consistently study the scriptures. So the mind should be devoid of duplicity and one should think of the welfare of all. So duplicity is a kind of cheating. So we must be aware of that. So, and if we always have the thought in our mind to do good to others, that is welfare of the entire society, then definitely it is possible. It is also a kind of habit. And when we read scriptures, when we are in good association, definitely these thoughts develop in our mind. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. That is true silence or not. So self-realization or smaranam, that is remembering the Lord. So the person in Krishna consciousness observed perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealings and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities. So that is the austerity of mind. That is satisfaction, santushti. Then simplicity, that is when we do not entertain any kind of duplicity in the mind, when we always feel like to do good for others, when we're completely self-controlled, no desire for sense gratification, then that is called austerity of the mind. And if the mind is austere, then automatically one's speech and physical activities become austere. So then in the next verse, Bhagavan talks about the austerity in goodness, that is satvika tapaha. In just one shloka. Shraddhaya paraya taptam tapastatrivitham naraihi aphalakankshibhir yukteh satvikam parichakshate. Shraddhaya, with faith, paraya, transcendental, taptam, executed, tapaha, austerity, that trividham, of three kinds, naraihi, by men, aphala akankshabhihi, shibhihi, who are without desires for fruits. Aphala akankshivihi. Aphala means no fruits. Akankshivi means desiring for. So desiring for no fruits. Yuktaihi, engaged. Satvikam, in the mode of goodness. Parichakshate is God. Translation: this threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme is called austerity in goodness. So when we do follow austerity of body, austerity of speech, and austerity of mind in transcendental consciousness and faith, without desiring for any material benefits, only engaged for the sake of the Lord's satisfaction, then it is austerity in goodness. Satvika tapa. Okay. Then in the next verse, the rajasika tapaha, that is austerity in passion, is described. Satkaramana pujartham tapodambhena chaiva yat kriyate tadiha proktam rajasam chalamadhruvam. Synonyms: satkaraha, respect; manaha, honor; puja, and worship; artham, for the sake of; tapaha, austerity; dambhena, with pride; cha, also; eva, certainly; yat, which; kriyate, is performed; tat, that; iha, in this world; proktam, is said; rajasam, in the mode of passion; chalam, flickering, adhruvam temporary. Translation: penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So sometimes penance and austerity are executed to draw the attention of the public, to receive respect, honor, and worship from others. So that is called Rajasika austerity or penance. So who are in the mode of passion, they perform such kind of austerities. Okay, so in the next verse, we see the austerity in ignorance. Mūಢā grāheṇātmano yat pīഡaya kriyate tapaha parasyotsadhanārtham vā tattamasamudārhitam. Synonyms: Mūಢā, foolish; grāheṇa, with endeavor; atmanaha, of one's own self; yat, which; pīഡaya, by torture; kriyate, is performed; tapaha, penance; parasya, to others; utsadhana artham, for the sake of causing annihilation; va, or; tat, that; tamasam, in the mode of darkness; udarhitam, is said to be. Translation: penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So we see how the demoniac people perform penance or austerity out of their ignorance. Severe austerities like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana did. But their intention was very impure. They wanted to kill the demigods, to rule over the whole Brahmanda. So, such desire in their mind, which as we see that Bhagavan sees the intention, bhavagrahi janardana. So it is just the reverse, just the opposite of sattvika austerity. Whereas sattvika austerity is whatever we do by our mind, body, and speech for the pleasure of the Lord. But here is just the reverse, for the pleasure of my own self, this little existence. And sometimes, even by torturing the self and torturing others, injure others, destroying others, these kind of austerities are performed. But ultimately, as we see Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, they all were killed by the Supreme Lord. Okay. So the next verse, that is in the next three verses, 20, 21, and 22, Bhagavan talks about three kinds of charity. That is charity under three modes. Dātavyamiti yad dānam dīyate nupakārine deshe kale cha patre cha tattanam satvikam smritam. Synonyms: datavyam, worth giving, iti thus, yat, that which, danam, charity, diyate, is given, anupakarane, irrespective of return, deshe, in a proper place, kale, at a proper time, cha, also, patre, to a suitable person, cha, and, tat, that, danam, charity, satvikam, in the mode of goodness, smritam, is considered. Translation: charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. So, what is the charity, the sattvika danam, or the charity in goodness, which is when the charity is given as a matter of duty, without any expectation of getting return in the form of respect or anything, at the proper time and place, and to the worthy person. Deshe kale cha patre cha. So all these things we must consider. Okay. The next, tamasika dana. Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam tattanam ranam samskritam. Synonyms: yat, that which, tu, but, prati upakara artham, for the sake of getting some return, phalam, a result, uddishya, desiring, va, or, punaha, again, diyate, is given, cha, also, pariklishtam, grudgingly, tat, that, danam, charity, rajasam, in the mode of passion, smritam, is understood to be. Translation: but charity performed with the expectation of some return or with a desire for fruitive results or in a grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion. One minute. So the last. What happened? Okay, so that is Rajasika. And the Tamasika. Adeshakale yattanam apatrebhyasya driyate asatkritaam avajñātam tattamasamudarhatam. Okay. Adesha at an unpurified place, kale and unpurified time, yet that which danam charity, apatrebhyaha to unworthy persons, cha also, diyate is given, asatkritam without respect, avajñātam without proper attention, tat that, tamasam in the mode of darkness, udarhitam is said to be. Translation: and charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time, or to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So, when the charity is performed at an impure place, that is maybe crematorium or some other place, at an improper time, to unworthy people. So sometimes it so happens that some people come to us and ask some kind of charity, and we, without any thought, without uh, thinking much about it, we just give something. But we don't know with the money what they are going to do. Maybe by the money, they will do harm to themselves. Maybe they will buy some beer bottles and will consume. Anything can happen. So we must take care of that also. So when we are giving charity, we must be cautious that the time, person, and the place should be proper. And when we give something, our attention should be on the transfer. That is, okay, I am talking to someone else, and okay, you just take it. It is not done. It is without attention and without respect. So when we are giving something, maybe 5 rupees we are giving, but that should be with proper respect and attention. That it is my capability, I am giving it to you. But before that, as I said, we must take care of to whom we are giving. So and on the other hand, Rajasika, that is a charity performed with the expectation of some return. There, a person always desires for some return. Maybe material return, or maybe respect, or something else. So, but the true charity is that which is given out of duty without any expectation of return at proper time, place, and person to a worthy person. That is actually Satvika Dana. So as we probably we discussed that charity, it was the Yuga Dharma of Papri Yuga. So Bhagavan specifically talks about charity here. But in today's context, in Kali Yuga, charity is actually not our Yuga Dharma. We are actually not capable of this charity. In the perfect manner it should be. We get confused where to give, when to give. So, but when we are sure that the person whom I am giving something, he is going to do proper justice to that charity. That means he will benefit himself as well as he is going to do benefit to others also. Such things we should keep in mind. That is why it is said that Brahmanas or the Vaishnavas are the most eligible candidates to offer our charity, because they are self-realized, as it is expected. They are self-realized, and they are always doing activities for the benefit of the entire society. So if we give charity to such people, definitely our wealth will be channelized in the right direction. So all these things we should keep in mind. So with this we will close today, and in the next section, that is the last section of this chapter, it is mentioned that how to make all our activities transcendental, whether it is eating or sacrifice or austerity or charity, how to make them all transcendental. That will be described in the last section of this chapter. And the second section we actually discussed in 2 parts. Okay, so with this, we will end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.